Hey, everybody, welcome back to Black Lotus Live, where we talk about all things strange and unusual. And tonight we have Jeremy Sanborn, and I know him as Bob Dahl.
I just put my podcast name there, Bobby Dizzle. I can
Bobby
change
Dizzle.
it.
Okay.
So
That's all right.
Hi, my name is William.
And we're going to be talking about the Bigfoot alien Singularity tonight. So first of all, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We certainly did. It was very non-traditional, but it was really good. But
it's all about staying together.
Tears the bullshit.
So about a year and a half ago, Ralph and I had a gentleman on our podcast, Paranormal News Network, by the name of Ronald C. Dahl. And he is a filmmaker, and he made a documentary about the Bigfoot alien Singularity. Insofar as this theory that Bigfoot is actually interdimensional or perhaps even alien. But it's very controversial in the Bigfoot community, I guess. And because people are either on one side or the other. They're either on the singularity thing or they're on the flesh and blood thing. Personally, I'm more on the side of flesh and blood. I don't really think that it's an interdimensional being. I don't think it's an alien. But I remember he did bring up one interesting thing about this, and that was that when people spot tracks out in the middle of nowhere, they only go so far. They don't, I mean, it's not as though they find these tracks going for like blocks and blocks and blocks. It's just a matter of a little ways. And sometimes they directly stop at a tree. And so what he was suggesting is that they're using interdimensional portals or perhaps even shape shifting into maybe even orbs. I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
My thoughts? Let me tell you right now, I lean toward the fact that he has to have something besides he's just a monkey in the woods because there's no bodies. And I really like the thought of him being an alien. I even got kicked out of the BFRO Facebook group because of saying it. So I'm like team alien, one notch over toward it.
Okay.
Because there's just no monkey bodies in the woods. Got to be something. Hollow Earth. I don't know.
Yeah. I've been hardcore flesh and blood biological creature for years, but just based on my own experiences, I don't really know anymore. I mean, I went and just this past January, I was out in the woods setting up camera traps, and I might have told you guys as Damien and Ralph. And now it was probably around like 9:30ish, and I set my cameras way the hell off trail. I'm belly crawling over Mountain Laurel just to get away from any, people contamination. And I found a spot that I liked, and there was snow on the ground, like a couple inches with a crust on top. And I set my camera up upside down. So I'm fiddling with that, and I got it set up, and I'm sitting there thinking, I've had experiences out in these woods before. I actually cast a print out there back in 2012. And so I'm thinking, well, these creatures are supposed to be very curious. So I got a headlamp and I got a flashlight, and I'm looking around for eye shine, maybe something's looking at me. And all of a sudden, to my back left, two loud stomps. I mean, I could hear the branches crunching, the snow breaking, opposite branches breaking, snow crunching, the mountain laurel branches. And I turned around and I yelled, "Hey," because I thought, maybe my worst fear, a person's out there, some weirdo. And there was nothing. And I ended up seeing, I didn't see anything. I got back to the trail and I was walking, and I could hear something off to my back right, breaking branches and brushing against branches and stuff. And didn't sound like a deer. You know, deer in the snow, they make a very crisp kind of sound. This was more sound like something big and heavy. And so I kept looking for eye shine, and I wasn't seeing anything. And at one point I stopped and I turned around, and straight behind me, just out of the beam of the light, it's always that seems like it's always the case. And I caught a pair of eye shine, and it would blink. It could have been an owl because, you know, that level, you know, off the ground. But I tried getting my lights coordinated and my camera on I only had my phone that night, and every picture I got was all blurry because I'm trying to coordinate everything. And then they disappeared. But as I continued walking, I just had a feeling to look, and I looked to my right, saw a large, I can only describe it as like the size of a refrigerator is what it reminds me of. I didn't see legs, but I saw from like what I would think would be its buttocks up to its back shoulders, if it was a Sasquatch, go behind these trees, and it was like a stone gray, and I only saw it for a flash, and I didn't see it afterwards. And then right as I went and saw that, my friend called me, who was picking me up at the parking area, and he's like, you know, you want me to stay on the phone? And I'm like, hell no, I need to pay attention to what's going on. You know, I don't know what's going on. And nothing, I ended up getting out of there. But the next day, me and my father went, and we were looking for tracks. And like I said, whatever it was that stomped behind me, I mean, it sounded close. And we found a single possible impression, but nothing else. And I saw something. I heard something, but there was no like physical evidence to go in to back it up. So
why do you think that is?
That's the thing. I honestly don't have a clue why that is. Native Americans, you know, they, you know, are really big on that it's you know, like a forest spirit. You know, some tribes lean towards like almost like a guardian. And then you get the alien thing, which we'll definitely end up getting into. But you know, there could be definitely something to their beliefs or extraterrestrials. You know, I don't know. I was expecting to find tracks and stuff. I didn't find. All I did was find that one impression. So
very cool. Very cool.
I've thought. Where was that at? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just asking, what location was that again? Where this
Is
encounter happened?
Actually, in Massachusetts, it's a place that's actually known as Monsterland. Ronnie LeBlanc, he's on Expedition Bigfoot. He's from my same town, and he wrote a book on it, and that's been its name since the 1940s. So
cool, very cool.
It's funny you mentioned that. I'm actually heading out this next year to film a documentary on that area. All 200 square miles of it, if you will. Yes, we're going to be covering as many of those aspects as we possibly can. Got a lot of nice talking heads in there, people who are knowledgeable about the area and have had experiences themselves or have done very heavy research. But that's really interesting to hear you say, Jeremy. Your story, and I'm going to reiterate this very quickly for those of you who have heard this before, reminds me a lot of an experience I had out in Long Island this summer when I was with Long Island Bigfoot and Montauk is Strange. This particular night, it was the last evening we were to stay at the campsite. We were out in Pine Barrens, and we had been out looking for Sasquatch many evenings prior to, leaving gifts all over the place, as you would imagine. That being said, we went a little bit further into the woods this evening, wherein at one point we all became very disoriented in respect to our bearings. Now, this is strange because all three of us are very versed with being outdoors, including Michael, who is a veteran. So he has a lot of this vigilance behind him, as well as Brian and myself. And for us to all of a sudden be disoriented felt very strange and off-putting. At the same time I started feeling this, it felt like something was behind me, following us. I could just feel a presence behind me. I couldn't see anything, but I would continue to look back behind. As we all sort of came to this awareness, we took a moment to sort of decide which way we're going to go, and we ended up heading back the direction we came. Long story short, as we were doing this, I could still feel something there with us in the woods, and I'd look over to my right periodically, and I would see two glowing red eyes about 8.5 feet in height, I would estimate, following along right parallel with us. Now, when I stopped, it stopped. If I moved forward 2 feet, it moved forward 2 feet. So if this was indeed Bigfoot or, something akin to that particular species, we always keep in mind that, there is the possibility that they evolved in a different fashion than we did, wherein we decided to take care of our left-brained perception of the world and go into the mechanical end of things. Perhaps these creatures, undisturbed to some degree by our own evolution, had decided to take a more right-brain interpretation while still keeping a physicality. So what I'm trying to say here is that, to me, it doesn't seem too outlandish to say that an elusive creature such as Bigfoot or even extraterrestrials, they all seem to be purported in one way, shape, or form to possess the ability to either exist interdimensionally, pop in and out like you and I do in a dream, perhaps even more readily, and yet still have a physical aspect and character that in some cases can be traced back to.
Awesome. Very well said.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, I know that feeling you're talking about, and I've been asked almost to describe it, and it's almost like there's you just know something. It's almost like if you went into a bad part of town or something, and you just got some like sixth sense awareness, and it's almost that you just kind of
feel the energy difference.
Yes, like
Terry, can you take care of the Adolf Hitler things, please? Can you block them?
I thought I was really missing something there. I'm like, what?
I still don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, there's someone in the chat room.
It's in the,
It's
Someone in the
chat.
chat room, and they're saying an unsavory
spam.
thing.
I got it.
I was like, where is the Adolf?
Yeah, at first I was like,
Right?
did he manifest himself in the room or something?
Hitler was a Bigfoot? Is that a same alien?
Yeah, it's not.
I'm not
letting
saying the
me-
theory doesn't exist, that
It's
Bigfoot might have
January,
been
Terry.
involved in his disappearance, at least the body, but, that's way left end here, I think.
Hey, Jeremy, you know how Mr. DarkHour was talking about being tracked and he felt like he was moving right beside you?
Mhm.
Didn't you describe that exact same thing to me when you were on you were on
Yes,
my show? It sounded just like he was reading your transcript. I was like, man, you just said the exact same words.
I know. When he was talking, I was like, yeah, oh my God, and I was actually out with I met up with another group of guys in the parking lot. It was me and my brother Ryan, who I've done a lot of research with, and we actively hunt, which I had something interesting happened last month, actually. We'll get into that later, I guess. But yeah, Monsterland. I was up there. Me and my brother, a couple other guys, and I have a hearing problem in my right ear, so I kind of stay back from main groups because people will be talking or they'll be kicking the leaves and stuff, and you can't hear anything. So I was hanging back, and I kept hearing something off to my right again, and I would stop. It would stop. And so after a little while, my brother, he's like, I'm way in the back, and he comes over. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Ryan, just when I say stop, stop." And we walked a little bit, we stopped, it would stop. And but yeah, quite similar.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder whether they're alien or not, if they have the ability to control how we feel about things, insofar as how what we see exactly. And I think that, like I said, there have been reports of a Bigfoot walking behind a tree and then just disappearing. And I wonder if they have the ability to change what we see, whether they're
Cloak,
alien or
maybe?
not.
Or change the energy. The energy.
Well, the question too
Right.
maybe is this acting upon us, changing our perception? Perhaps the way that Carlos Castaneda talked about his character Don Juan
Right.
doing for him, whereas reality stayed consistent, but for him it was totally different. Or is it of their own volition, and then we're privy and witness to that?
Interesting.
I think
And there are reports of UFOs, like I said last week, UFOs with Bigfoot sightings and vice versa as well. So to me, there seems to be maybe a possibility of a connection.
Yeah, that reminds me of a report that happened in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure the year. It was like in the 70s, and there was a UFO sighting, and then it was by a body of water. I think it was a pond, and these kids got stuck in their car or something. They saw a UFO, and supposedly law enforcement, and even I think the government got involved in the sighting. But that same night,
Right.
elderly lady, these, a group of Sasquatch supposedly were in her yard or something, and she came out and Damien, you mentioned the orbs earlier, and she came out and she shot one with a 16 gauge shotgun, and all it did was it just turned into a ball of light, and then her son-in-law hearing the shots came, and he had a 22 pistol on him, which probably isn't going to do too much to a Sasquatch, but anyways, he started shooting them, and they just disappear in a ball of light. So, and actually in the area that I frequently research, there's been quite a few reported occurrences of seeing these orange orbs. They'll go over you and they'll go down a ridge, over a ridge, and so I don't know. There's just so much to it. I mean,
I had somebody describe this to me, and it kind of made sense. If you're an outdoors person and you go traipsing around the woods and you see a wolf or a deer, that's just happenstance. I mean, you just got lucky enough to see one. But if you see something like a UFO or you see something like Bigfoot, you're meant to see that. And they were there for you so that you could see it. And what this person was trying to tell me is that they're trying to change our perception of reality. And I think now I've never seen a Bigfoot. I've never seen a Sasquatch or any cryptid for that matter. But I have seen aliens and UFOs. And when I had my encounter with the aliens, it changed my entire perception of the world. And not just because I came to the realization that aliens are real, but because I just started changing my perception of everything that's going on in the world. And so I wondered about the validity.
It's like an awakening when you see that.
Right. And please don't say woke. But I wonder if there's any validity to that theory.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds very plausible to me. If I could go ahead and give my what I think is going on. Okay.
It validates.
Okay, so let me. My answer is not very straightforward, so it's a little bit layered, I guess. But I think a lot of things in nature are layered, and I think a lot of things in life are not very straightforward. So I think let's think of I think there's multiple causes for Bigfoot, and they're happening at the same time. So as an example that we could understand, if you look in the ocean, we have dolphins and we have sharks, and they look extremely similar. Now, if you didn't know any better and you saw them from far away, you might confuse them all the time. You would think there's this creature out there. It's got a long body, like a torpedo. It's got like a fin on its back. But in reality, it's not just one entity. There is one animal called a dolphin, which is actually a mammal. It has milk and breathes air. And the other animal looks almost exactly alike, but it's actually a shark. And a shark is a fish, does not have milk. And so that's what I'm saying. I think there are Bigfoot out there. Here's what I think is going on. I think some of them in the world are for sure, just like gorillas. Not all of them, but some of them are. I don't know which ones are. Some of them I do think are very intelligent and advanced. They could be extraterrestrials or they could be from another dimension, and they could have great technology because, I mean, they just look like humans, basically. That, like grays also look like humans. The only difference is they're very muscular and very hairy, but that could be just how animals in another dimension look or another planet. And then the third point I just want to make is I think grays and UFOs are also messing with Bigfoot. Because they mess with us, they abduct us, they do all kinds of strange things to us. I think they do the same thing to Bigfoot. The Bigfoot that are on this planet, which I think some of them are just regular animals, I think they probably get abducted, they get weird examinations done to them. So sometimes that's why we see, I think, UFOs and Bigfoot together, because the UFO is interacting with the Bigfoot, maybe against the Bigfoot's will. But yeah, I do think that some of them do have technology so they could open portals, they could travel instantaneously somewhere else. I think they have camouflage ability, and I think they have the ability to maybe paralyze us or scare us or talk to us telepathically. All the things that we see grays have, I think they have the same things. Anything a gray could do, some Bigfoot can do as well. That's basically what I think about Bigfoot.
Bobby, what are your thoughts on all that?
They almost mirror Ralph and Damien Wild Trees. I think the Bigfoots have the ability, almost like a telepathic, like you're meant to see them if you see them. Pretty much what you said. I talked to a ghost hunter who has been to she says she's been experiencing ghosts and spirits her whole life, and she said that a lot of the times that people that want to see a ghost won't see one because they're too eager and or too scared.
Yeah.
And there's also, like, my wife will see a ghost anytime we go to a haunted place. That's she's like, well, I saw something I didn't tell you because you didn't freak out. And the ghost hunter I talked to, her name's Miss Amy Weirs, basically said, because I'm so prone and eager, like sitting in a 3-point stance to see something, that I probably won't.
Okay.
And I've got this kind of theory that if you'll go, I talked to Jeremy about it, if you'll go in the woods, no gun, no camera, kind of sit there and meditate, maybe something pops out, like you promised never to discuss this with anyone if something comes out.
That's very forward thinking. That's very
I haven't tried it because I'm scared it'll work, to be honest.
I was going to say real fast that what you said is very true, because I think the paranormal relies a lot on the element of surprise. A ghost wants to surprise you. An alien abductor, for sure, they want to surprise you. They want to catch you off guard. So they lose that. Like, for instance, I'm ready for a paranormal experience to happen again. So I'm always on alerts. I'm ready. I'm not going to freak out when it happens. But I think that probably is going to prevent it from happening because they lose the element of surprise. I think that's why they come in the bedroom at night, because they surprise you. And that's a really good advantage they have.
The more nonchalant your approach to this particular aspect of the field, the more it will arise in way of experience. It might even just take you to continue to going to some of these places that are purportedly active and just feeling it out. I've found that either turning the other direction, which I still don't necessarily think that it's always by the element of surprise that these come in. It's more or less when you're more at ease, when you're at rest, when you may allow them to come to you. They already exist within their own element. But if you want to cross those barriers consciously, you have to come up to a certain level with them as well and make sure that the language barrier is transcended. That language barrier in this case being vibration at the very least. So, I don't know. It's interesting, but I do think that there was a time that I was very eager to see something. I was chasing after the darkest that I could find, and by God, the thing found me. So, it could go both ways.
Oh yeah, like I know Jeremy is along the lines of people who are more sensitive. I know he's told me about his haunted house stories. He saw the gremlin, which I put on TikTok and got a ton of followers by the way. Thanks. But here's what's weird: whenever you hear Bigfoot stories in the woods, you always hear people being scared. I would never be scared to see Bigfoot. I was like, why would you be scared? I mean, that's something.
Right.
I would be like, oh my God, there he is. Just hold still. Let me get a selfie. It's Bigfoot. Yeah. Now, ghost, if I saw my grandma in the bathroom tonight, I would freak out. I don't know about aliens because you don't know their intention. I think I would have the same reaction to seeing an alien as I would with Bigfoot. Like, there's an alien, but you don't know till you know. You don't know till it happens.
Yeah, when I had my first paranormal encounter, I was living in an old farmhouse, and I was talking on the phone with my mother, and I was reaching up for the pole light and turned around. And there was just this gray shape, head, shoulders. It was shorter than me, but I wasn't expecting to see anything. And I literally tried to kick this thing. Like, I threw a kick at it. And I remember getting to the door and I'm thinking, it's right next to me. It's right next to me. And pretty much falling down the stairs. I wasn't looking for it, but I do believe that some people are definitely more sensitive to paranormal occurrences, and it could be the same with Sasquatch, aliens. It's always when you don't expect it. I can honestly say for myself, I'm more comfortable sitting in the woods at night or scuba diving in a lake that supposedly has a lake monster than I am in a demonic house.
Sure,
dude, I'm right here with you.
Did you tell? Is that the gremlin story, or can you tell the gremlin story? I want to hear that one.
Oh man, yeah. So I moved into this house on Church Street, and I didn't like the place from the start. As soon as I walked in, I did not like this place. there was these large French doors for the bedroom, and on the inside, it looked like a Great Dane was kept in there. The doors were all ripped up.
Whoa.
And so a lot happened there. I woke up one morning and I had 3 scratches on my inner right thigh. And I'm like, did my dog kick me when I was sleeping or whatever? And so I couldn't really go. I mean, I didn't notice them before. I don't know how they got there. But then later on that night, my back started killing me. And I kept on asking, my partner if there's any marks on my back, and no, nothing there. And then back was killing me for 3 days. Then on the 3rd day, I was getting out of bed, and they're like, what the hell happened to your back? And my back was just covered in bruises, like knuckle marks, a foot mark, and it wasn't like a large foot mark. And I didn't get in any fights or anything. And I was urinating blood for like 2 weeks.
Wow.
Whoa.
And,
Wow.
I literally felt like I was losing myself. I felt like I was going insane in this place, and everyone else was fine. And I was sitting on the bed one night. The French doors were parted, and my dog and my cat were with me, and they were just looking at me weird. Like I just got a weird feeling, like they look strange for some reason. Then I looked up, and peering out from behind the left French door was this short, like 2.5, 3 feet tall at the most. Now I swear on everything I love, I saw this. I could have been hallucinating, it could have been, but I saw it, and it was literally I could see claws and the fingers, and it was peering at me from behind the door, grimacing at me. Like I could see its teeth, and its skin. Like if you take a shopping bag, like a paper shopping bag from a grocery store, and you crumple it all up and then unfold it, that's what its skin looked like. But it had furry ears.
Whoa.
They were large.
Okay.
And I didn't see it run or anything. Still, like even to this day, it's just.
What did the ears look like? Were they like a rabbit or like a dog?
No. No, I describe them as more like a German Shepherd's ears, kind of, but bigger. But that's
very aggressive. What did the face look like? What about the nose, and were the teeth pointed or flat?
The teeth were pointed. I remember that. I don't even remember really seeing a nose, and I didn't even focus on the eyes. I just I just look up and there's this thing staring at me from behind the door, and it scared. I mean, I ended up getting out of there.
Definitely. Were there? I'm trying to see what if I try to categorize this animal as anything close to human we have on this planet. So if you could humor me, what was his face flat? What was the shape of the face? Was it very human-like, or was it flat, or was it protruding in any way?
I would say it was close to human-like. I mean, much smaller, but I just remember the ears were like huge for its head. And
were they sticking out the side of the head or right off the top?
This.
An angle, it looks like maybe.
And its face, it didn't have any fur on its face or anything. Its face looked like I said, like a crumpled up shopping bag that you uncrinkled.
Now, so the skin. Well, so that's what it looked like. And what was the color and what was the texture? Like if you were going to touch it, what would you feel like? And what color was it?
It was pretty solid looking, and it was tan.
It was tan.
Yeah.
Okay. So did it feel like it would be
like
rough,
leather,
like a lizard? Or leather?
I would say, I don't know. I've thought of it before, and I think because it was tan and it had all those wrinkles and stuff in it, that's why I go and use a shopping bag as a
paper bag.
Because that's what just comes to my head. But I don't know. It scared the hell out of me, and
what ended up happening to it?
Solid. I mean, to me, it was there. Like I said, I mean,
no, I believe you. I believe you 100%. I'm just so.
Was it translucent?
No, I didn't. I couldn't. It was just like a little being.
What ended up happening to it? Did it just leave, or
I don't. It was just gone. I didn't see it run or anything. It startled me. And, I jumped back, and then by the time I, got even settled from that, it was gone. It was a very quick occurrence. But
Did your
one
animals
last-
react to it?
My cat did. My cat was actually staring right at it, like kind of like in a, like stiffed up.
Mm,
My dog seemed oblivious to it.
interesting.
He's right here. He's actually,
Usually animals are very instinctive on them.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I was going to ask. Okay, are the teeth? Okay, are they more similar to, like, let's say you're looking at a mouth with something with teeth? Are they more similar to a snake, a dog, a shark, a piranha? You know, what animal did the shape of the teeth look most like?
Well, it wasn't like a dog, because they were all pointed from what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
and you just said piranha.
Piranha. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Can't take them nowhere.
Hey, I'm taking notes. These are good questions. I don't know how to interview anyone. I'm like, this guy. I didn't think
Was
past
he-
that. I was
was-
just like,
I mean,
gremlin
did
at your
he-
house.
Like a sneer on his face, like mist or anything
Oh.
like that?
Yeah, no, it was like grimacing.
Mhm.
That's the, like, smiling at me evilly, I
Right.
guess.
Right.
I mean,
Mm-hmm. Like
what-
menacing.
Was that grimace like, okay, sometimes animals can smile. Like you've seen pictures, I've seen a picture of a turtle that looks like it's smiling. Cats, dogs. Did it look like an animal smiling? Does it remind you of any other animal it's having that same expression?
no.
Okay.
No, this was like a deliberate, like,
Yeah.
they were already messing with me, and
And-
he just showed itself.
An
and-
intentional look.
yeah, like, yeah, here I am, buddy, and you're mine or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah,
But you never saw it again after
Right.
that.
no, I never saw it again. I
How
got
long ago was this?
Did you feel any different energy or anything?
But right before it happened, like, my animals were just staring at me in a weird way, and animals look at you all the time, but for some reason this was just weird, and like I wasn't expecting to look up and see this thing, but but the energy did go and feel weird because I was looking at the animals looking at me, and
Right.
the atmosphere did feel off.
What color were the ears again? The hair on the ears?
They were like a darkish tan, brown.
Okay.
They were more brown. The ears were darker than the face.
Okay. I was going to say real fast. I know we're talking about gremlins when this is a Bigfoot episode, but I honestly think that whatever this creature was, he knows what Bigfoot is. They run in the same circles, whatever they are. So they're very similar animals. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, this thing was in my house.
Yeah.
How long ago was this?
This was 2013.
Are you in that same house?
What's that?
And did you?
Oh no,
Are
I
you
moved. I was out of there within 2 weeks.
And
And even that wasn't quick enough.
were you
Oh,
So
that's
let's-
a move.
Let's entertain the idea that Bigfoot truly is interdimensional or alien.
all right?
Just like the same question pops up about aliens all the time. What do they want? What are they trying to say to us? I mean, are they just here to, I don't know.
Well, they're less aggressive than
Observe?
they're less aggressive than the aliens because I haven't heard of any stories of them actively abducting us. Well, I have heard a few stories,
Yeah.
but that doesn't seem to be their main thing. They seem to be like just minding their own business, really, as opposed to. So I think they just like the planet. They just like hanging out. Here.
Okay, all right, but why are they here? And why do they make these brief appearances to people? And I think this goes back to my question about them controlling our perception. So I kind of wonder about that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Michael.
I was going to say, from what I understand, this is one of the most, if not the most beautiful planet within our immediate solar system, exactly where it is in its evolution and, everything that's here in way of elements. With that in mind, it's also been put forth that some of these extraterrestrial species or other cryptids that do have interdimensional capabilities or otherwise do visit the planet sometimes as a joyride or some sort of vacation. If that's the case with Bigfoot, I would be surprised because, we do have them in that continent, and unless our planet is really a hotel, I think that there may be some, circumstances where that upholds. But, I have heard that from reputable people that this is a possible theory, that they're sort of more or less here to enjoy this planet, but they're doing it in a different way. Yes, there is a physical component to all of this. Even if you go to a house that purportedly has activity and you start doing construction and you start noticing that the activity increases, they say the reason for that, at least, on the fundamental end of it, is that the being is actually seeing the physical change within his reality as well and doesn't know how to change it or control it. So it starts getting upset and acts out and so forth. So perhaps there's something in the way of Bigfoot in this same way and other cryptids. I mean, look at Skinwalker Ranch, for example, where people were seeing, different beings falling out of different portals along the property and entering them at some other point in time. So clearly, we're a stopping point in one way, shape, or form. It's just a matter of us understanding that other side of existence rather than solely focusing all of our energy here in the physical, saying, hey, there's no way anything else could spiderweb outside of our immediate paradigm and reality.
So basically, we're a roadside attraction.
It
But
may be
like
just
the
that
big ball of
simple.
twine.
I'm sure it goes a lot deeper than that in way of, what you
yeah.
and I might consider spiritual ideas or notions, because to these beings, what we call telepathy, or what we call interdimensional movement within our Merkabah field and so forth, which of course people have done as well. It sounds like fantasy or something more religious to us, but again, these beings have indoctrinated it into their everyday being. So,
But why would something from another planet come and visit us just to be stuck in our forests and hide?
maybe they're not stuck and maybe they're not hiding the way that you think they
Yeah.
are. Maybe they're eluding us, like
Right.
we've talked about many times, keeping their own. For all we know, they are having some sort of jovial party out in the woods where we're just not invited or can't see them when they're doing it. I mean, I'm stretching it a little bit here for the sake of entertainment, but there may be some truth to that idea.
All right. So how many of us have seen Independence Day?
And they're on every single continent. It's just not ours.
So do you remember the scene
I
where they
did.
cut the alien down and he's in a biological suit?
Yes.
Well, I had like an idea for a short story. I know this is kind of off the beaten path, but
Oh.
what if the Bigfoot suit is an astronaut suit, a biological suit, and there's maybe a gray in it? That fits along with and they're just exploring, like, we send people to the moon. Well,
I like that.
we sent people to the moon.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
But like, what if they're interdimensional, they're aliens. You get beamed down. I'm abridging the story slightly, of course. You get beamed down to the Pacific Northwest. You're in Ennis, Montana, and you're in a suit because you don't know where you're at, and it can survive all the aliens. It's got all the elements, and it's got the coolant and everything. Just it was an idea of mine. It was a short story, but it
Well, the
fits
thing
along the
is-
lines of the vacation theory there.
The thing is that I've heard reports from people
Much
who
like
are in the woods, that live in the woods, and they wake up in the morning and they find these handprints on their car's windshield, and they report that the prints are very oily. And my thought about that is that they may have a lot of oil in their fur, in their hair. I mean, and one of the reasons I think for that is to protect them from water, from rain, that kind of thing. So
It's called hydrophobic.
That or
It's
maybe
got a fiber
other.
quality.
say again, Kimberly.
I was just going to say, maybe a protection against our elements itself, compared to what they've had on their planet or wherever they're from.
Yes.
And
Just a protective.
there's a lot of
And
that's why-
they could be much like a time traveler as well.
I mean, I like all these
Not
ideas.
too much
Okay.
different than a duck's down.
yeah.
I like all these ideas because they all fit into my idea, which is that there's multiple causes. So
I
yes,
do
to
like
all
that
of them.
idea.
Yeah,
It's the
we were
first I've heard of
following you.
I didn't
Thank
know
you.
fish
Thank
didn't
you.
have milk though till you said that.
Oh, you did not know that?
Fish do
Common
not have milk.
misconception. There's a common misconception. Well, if I could go back to the milk thing, the fact that your gremlin had hair there's only one type of animal that has hair, and they're mammals, and we're mammals, and dogs are mammals. So, is that a fake out, or was that actually a mammal? We may never know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows what? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, they say like
Well, look at how they say that the aliens could have. Go ahead.
There's a lag.
Oh,
Yeah, I think there's a lag.
well, I was saying like people could, some people have a theory that demons will go and show up as, present themselves as something that'll scare the living crap out of you. And so, this thing definitely scared me, and I think that's just a form that it chose to take. I don't know.
I got to say something, if I could, real fast, because it's a perfect time to say I've been thinking about it for a while. Okay, so you said it was scaring you. Perhaps it was trying to scare you, and it definitely did scare you.
Yeah.
We had an episode about black-eyed children. I was talking to Billy, who had an encounter with black-eyed children. He was on a show, and we talked about like, hey, maybe this is it's an energy vampire. It's trying to. It likes scaring you, and it gets something out of that.
Yeah.
Now, I want to change the term energy vampire because it sounds too cool. I want to replace energy vampire with fear milker. Fear milker. I think that's what they're doing. I think they're actually milking you like a cow for your fear and gobbling it up.
Kind of like Monsters, Inc.
Exactly like Monsters, Inc. by Disney Pixar.
Fear Vampire sounds like a Keanu Reeves movie.
Kind of like milking a dolphin.
This summer, Keanu Reeves, Fear Vampire.
It's an interesting thought, though. That's what these beings are doing. And of course, as I've mentioned before, we do live in a predatory universe. So why wouldn't that extend beyond our physicality as well? We've known people to be aware of certain abilities that they possess, wherein that they can manipulate other people. Some of this is considered to be witchcraft. Some of this is much more intentional. Aleister Crowley and his cohorts, they had many stories of him just giving examples of how he could manipulate not only reality, but other people in, various ways, whether it's, make somebody fall or to even influence them to do something that he desired. So if he was able to cultivate this, and there are other people, it's not just him, who've been able to reach a certain point where they're able to do this, or they're at least aware of the capability. Again, why would we not extend that into some of these more etheric creatures, or what we consider to be cryptids, when we start exhibiting the same behavior that we've, obviously observed within our own practices, just on a different level?
Yeah, mind manipulation, the mind can manifest many things and has the ability to cause and create.
I do think that's true, yes.
Yes.
So what's the general consensus here?
It can cause good or the bad.
Are they aliens or not?
Yes,
it
some
seems
of
to
them.
be really up in the air as to one way or the other.
I think some of them are aliens, but not all of them.
Yeah,
I keep it in the realm of conjecture until proven otherwise.
I think it's Schrodinger's Bigfoot. We'll never know until we get one.
Yeah,
That's the only. If
that's
there's
absolutely true.
if there's no piles of monkey bodies, it's an alien, and it's not until there's no way to know.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point.
With the cloaking and stuff like that, we were mentioned. Now, just this past month, October, the night of the hunter's moon, me and my brother, we were we were bow hunting, and we were out in the evening. And now last year, when we were also hunting, we were separated, and all of a sudden, from like in between us, I was good, probably 100 yards away. I was in the woods, he was on the clearing, and something just let out this screaming, howling wail, and so I knew that's not my brother, and like we'll communicate with each other with a quick whoop, just to let him.
Yeah.
And
Classic.
But this wasn't a whoop. I've actually heard whoops, but So I start heading back towards him. All I got is my bow, and he's coming towards me, and he's licensed to carry in the state of Massachusetts. He's already got his 45 out, and we ended up hunting together the rest of that day. But as we were getting in the truck, we heard, I can only describe it as a really pissed off chimpanzee in the distance. Anyways, so we were at the same spot. Might not be too smart, but and we've been sitting there for a couple hours. So now I got my sight lines. You know, I study the terrain just in case, you know, so that way I know what's there. And if I can only see a part of a deer or something, you know, I'll know that there's something off with that little corridor I got sectioned off.
Got it. Yeah.
And I had a line of like sapling maple trees. They were in a perfect straight row, 3 of them off to my back left. And I've been looking down there all day. And now it was just starting to get dark, you know, like magic hour, you know, things start moving. And I just noticed that there's what looks like a perfect silhouette of head and shoulders sticking out from a group of trees. There was a group of trees, a gap, and then another group of trees, you know, and perfect, like from here straight down, just looking at me. And I'm looking at this thing. I'm talking to my brother. He's right next to me. He actually moved and tried to get a view of it. I'm not sure if he actually saw what I was looking at because my head was probably right in the way. And I'm like, if this moves, then, you know, I'm going to crap my pants. And I'm watching it. And next thing you know, this form literally crossed over the gap and just blended right into the group of trees next to it. It was, you know, already starting to get dark. So, you know, shadows and stuff. And I took that into consideration. But this moved. I didn't see like a bottom half though, because maybe I was so focused on the top that I was looking at. And I'd say, you know, height wise, it was in proportion to how tall people say, you know, Bigfoot Sasquatch is. But this moved. And then not 30 seconds later, there's a valley. Not 30 seconds later, out comes this call from out into the valley. And so it was getting too dark to, you know, even hunt anymore. But, you know, we're also researchers. So we decided, you know, we'll wait a little bit, see what's going on. And, you know, we ended up walking out and we got to the truck. And you actually said, Damien, about prints on automobiles. And there was, I got pictures of it. I'll have to send them to you. Of what looked like a hand. The tips were like pointy. And it looked like someone put a hand on one of his, the windows. He's got an extended cab pickup on the driver's side rear window. It looked like a handprint there, a very large handprint. And as I'm taking pictures of this, all of a sudden we hear this sound again, and it's a screamy howl. Like I know Fisher Cats. Like we've gone and looked up, you know, all these, you know, animal sounds that they're able to produce, and nothing comes close. And at one point, it went off so rather close and so like just energetic that my brother, you know, he's like, you know, get your ass in the truck, let's go, you know, let's go. And you know what's, this is what is really, I had my recorder going when we got to the truck. That section is gone. It's just white noise. My brother yelling to get into the truck isn't there.
Huh.
And I time-stamped it. I looked at it. It was 33 minutes into my recording, and it was gone.
Whoa.
So
one of the weirdest things I've ever heard, and it actually sent chills down my spine. I think it was called the Sierra tapes.
yeah.
And it's of these
Just
supposed
about to
Sas-
ask about that.
Yeah, it's supposed Sasquatch are communicating with each other, and I know it's been analyzed, and they say that it doesn't sound like any known animal.
No.
Joe Rogan said it sounded like
Right, I
somebody
was
trying to
watching
act
something
like
like
they
that
spoke
today.
Japanese.
Yeah. Samurai chatter. I've heard that before.
Now, if you go to YouTube, I don't know the exact person that bootlegged it on there, but the Joe Rogan Explains Everything series from like 10 years ago, they actually analyze it on there. It's like
Do they?
episode 1. Yeah. But it sounds like he describes it as somebody trying to speak Japanese that doesn't speak Japanese. Which is accurate. It's accurate if you've ever heard it.
Yeah, I've heard people with that theory. I've never heard that myself, though. The Japanese chatter, samurai chatter.
I'll send you that episode, Jeremy. You can listen to it. You're like, oh, maybe I have heard it.
Maybe.
It was creepy though. Oh my god.
Yeah, imagine hearing that in the woods.
Right?
I'd get the hell out.
You know,
I'd empty the magazine and I'd get the hell out of there.
you know, like coyotes. You know, when coyotes go off, you know, it sounds like a bunch of coyotes. It could really just be 3 or 4, and they sound like there's 10, and they make some
Right.
really crazy vocalizations. And then fisher cats even.
Yep.
And bobcats make weird sounds too. I just saw a bobcat the other day, and the sounds that come out of them, you wouldn't expect a bobcat to make. But these are it's loud. It sounds big. It's something that I can't explain. But I'm actually going there tomorrow.
Do you guys do the wood knocking and everything to see if you can communicate with it that way?
Yeah, I've done wood knocking. I actually strayed away from that in a way of trying to communicate with them. I find that just sitting, being quiet and stuff, you know, seems to, you know, get more interaction. I don't know how to word that right now.
Well, you know, I think
What
the
about mute?
researchers that get out there and do the wood knocking and all that stuff and the whoops. I think you've got it right. Yeah, you know, you just need to sit out there quietly and possibly something will happen. But to me, the wood knocking thing is almost like Zach Baggins on one of his paranormal stupid shows. Going out to a house and demanding that the ghost communicate with him.
Right.
You know, I mean, I think it's the same thing. You're just provoking it.
Yeah, you don't hear when you go in the woods. You know, you don't hear knocks all around you. You know, they're not banging the hell out of trees. So if you're out there and you know it's kind of like disrupting, you know, the atmosphere. You know,
You're like taunting them.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly you could, you know, taunting them, but just they probably know, you know, that that's not, you know, one of us.
Bobby, Jeremy, have you guys ever had an experience where rocks have been thrown at you when you've been out?
Yes, a log.
Do you think
wow.
it was? Do you think it was a warning?
Yeah, in that situation, I do. We heard some wood knocks. We were walking up this trail, and I was actually on a group expedition with this experience. It was me, my brother, and a fellow investigator, Chris, and we were walking. We were actually going to look for this lady's son, member of the group's sons. They took off on their own, and so we were hired, you know, go get them. And we're hearing all these noises off to our left, and it was like a corridor of small pine trees. Like it was a perfect ambush situation. And next thing you know, like a big chunk of wood goes flying over our heads. We're thinking it's the kids, you know, messing around. And then something started coming up towards us from, you know, the woods. And so we ended up backing off. And he had a night scope, and he was looking down the trail. And all of a sudden he, you know, spooked, freaks out. He says something crossed the trail. And so we ended up aborting the mission. And those kids came back, you know, like an hour or so later, and they were afraid to come back down that trail because they were hearing this stuff too. So
I don't blame them.
yeah, no, I mean they were only like 15, you know, they were out doing their thing. But
Wild Trees has an interesting idea via gifting Sasquatch, and what he wants to do is I'll let him explain it.
Thank you. Well, thank you for bringing this up. I wasn't going to bring it up anymore. I was like, let me ponder this thought for a little bit more. But since you brought it up, I'll gladly talk about it, because I wanted to ask you guys what your thoughts are. I wanted to ask our guests what they thought about gifting, because I need to learn everything I can about gifting, because I want to start this project that involves gifting. The project is this. From what I understand, if you go to an area where Bigfoot is, people have done this before. They basically leave something in the woods for Bigfoot. They leave apples, they leave sweet treats, I also know children. I know they love children. They love the sound of children. So maybe like an iPad with a video of children playing, whatever they like. You know, I'll give them 1,000,000 pancakes if that's what they want. Whatever. So the idea is that I gift them, and then I come back to see if they actually took the gift, and I set up some cameras. I try to ensure that it's not just some people just taking my stuff, right? Now, this may take a long time, you know, a year, going out once a month or whatever. The point is, I want to get to the point where I feel fairly confident that I am leaving gifts for Bigfoot and he is taking them. Perhaps he already started leaving something for me. Now, if he doesn't leave something for me, I want to get the conversation going. Like, hey, I want something from you. After a year or something, I think I could leave like just like a little, like maybe on a piece of paper, I could just draw a Bigfoot. And I draw him holding something he's given to me. And I draw myself giving him like an apple. I think he'll understand what's happening there. If they're smart enough. Maybe not. But eventually, I want them to give me the ultimate gift, which is a body of a Bigfoot. And then I could prove Bigfoot is true. And it could also just be a skeleton. It could be just a skull, even just a hand.
Yeah.
But that's the idea, basically. Now, I don't want them to kill anybody.
Oh, you want to sacrifice?
No, I was about to say that. I don't want to sacrifice. No. I don't want them to turn into like bloodthirsty pancake, you know, murderers or whatever. So,
They're going to do it for the pancakes.
Don't do it for the pancakes. It's not worth it. Not worth it. Game's off. You just have the pancakes. No, I want them to look. They die. I think some of them die naturally. I just want them. Next time somebody dies, I don't mind waiting a decade. I mean, if it takes me 10 years, I'm proving Bigfoot is real. I don't care. 10 years isn't that long. Anyway, I want an ethically, preferably a Bigfoot that died of natural causes. Yeah.
Hey, I have heard they love pumpkin pie from a resource about 20 years ago. I'm not even kidding.
Really?
I love it too.
See?
Yeah, same here. I love pumpkin pie.
I know if you've done any research
There
on
goes
Bigfoot,
Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give them a buffet.
But what do you guys know about
And
gifting?
turkey
Have you
too.
had experience in gifting? Do you think it's legitimate?
I have never gone and actually done it myself, but I do believe it's a way of communication between us and them.
Yes.
I have a buddy up in Vermont, and you mentioned children, and his son. I can't remember what he left, but it wasn't a food item or anything like that. But what they got back in the same spot was like a moss, like a little nest, like something had gone and like weaved a little nest and left it for him. And I haven't talked to him in a while, so I don't really know if he's continued this. But as far as gifting, that's all I really know.
That's cool. Thank you.
I sort of think that
I just wonder if that would
Bigfoot
help.
works like I think he works, then gifting may not be possible.
Okay.
I say he or she. Them, Bigfoot.
Them.
You want to expand on that? What do you think might be happening?
Just like earlier when I said they're kind
I
of
just wonder-
telepathic and they feel your intentions,
Okay.
especially with the camera to see if it's not a kid.
Okay.
Say if you leave a camera, you probably won't get anything other than a kid.
I do want to address that, but Kim, can you please say your comment?
Yeah, I was thinking that if it was on a consistent basis, you know, and you had like a trail cam there, you left, and that would be only triggered by movement, that and you could see the coming and going, and you would be consistent with the gifting. I think that you might have something if they stayed within that area, you know, if that's where they're living or whatever.
Thank you for that. Okay, thank you. So I'll comment on what you said about the camera. You know what? You're right. I mean, the camera it's pushing it a little bit, but I don't need the camera. I could do it. Now, the other thing you mentioned is about intention. They could tell what our intentions are. I absolutely agree with you, and I don't think you could fake your intention. Therefore, my intentions are actually very pure. Like my real intentions for proving Bigfoot is real is to protect him or her, to protect him, like, you know, give him federally protected land, or we won't mess with him anymore. So truly, my
totally
intentions
agree.
the whole time, my intentions are good. So perhaps they can sense, like, well, this guy's trying to help us.
I think you have to meditate hard on it.
Yeah, that is the overall reason why I actually do my research, which from Sasquatch to, you know, even I also researched Champ up in Lake Champlain. And that's the whole goal, is to get protection, federal protection for them, the ecosystem that they're in,
Absolutely.
because, even just like with Lake Champlain, there's millions of gallons of raw sewage being dumped in there every year, runoff from farms and stuff. And, I'm not saying anything about farmers, they feed us, but, there's enough money in probably the budget to go and develop some type of filter system so this stuff doesn't get into the lake. And so if you get protection for this creature, you're going to get protection for the whole lake, and everything in it. And the same goes with Sasquatch. That's my intention.
Awesome. And you're right. Look, as a biologist, you're absolutely right. Whenever we preserve any part of nature, it helps humanity. It helps humans. Yes. It helps you and me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of champs, I've been trying like hell to get Katie Elizabeth on with us, but she's such a busy woman. Lady of the lake.
She's the one who actually introduced me to Lake Champlain back in 2017. I did some diving for her. Small Town Monsters.
Wow.
Crack St. Laurent.
Very cool. Very impressive.
But yeah, she's a busy woman.
Oh yeah, especially lately. My God.
Mm-hmm.
But Michael, you've been kind of quiet.
No, everything that's being tossed around is fantastic, and obviously in the way of all of these ideas, we're sitting here just kind of contemplating back and forth what things could be, talking about consistencies and so forth. I've jumped in a couple times and wanted to allow people to really voice their opinion here on this subject at large tonight. It's been fantastic.
What you mentioned that you're going to be doing a documentary here pretty soon in what was it called? Monster Woods?
Monsterland.
Monsterland.
Is
that going to be specifically about Sasquatch?
No, it'll encompass everything that happens within this area. For those of you who are not familiar, the Bridgewater Triangle is the largest area up in the Northeast that has purported activity that really encompasses everything within the field. Right. Everything. I mean, I don't even know where to start because we just go right down the list. With that being said, the area itself, and I'm sure Jeremy could attest to this as well, walking into some of these woods, it's very harrowing, to say the least. And there are certain areas that feel very dense in way of energy, perhaps even foreboding, oppressive. Yeah. And there doesn't seem to be any logical reason for that. Now, the stories that support why some of this might be the case, going all the way back to the Algonquin Indians and King Philip's War, and the conflicts that happened with the settlers at that time, it really does attest to why some of this activity is present. And I'll even put it a little bit further than that, knowing that the Hockomock Swamp, it actually is translating to the place where spirits dwell, and this is what the Native Americans used to hold sacred. So for something like that to be desecrated, perhaps at one point it was more of a positive entity, if you will, this portal area, wherein again it's been sullied by this tumultuous history, and perhaps now we're seeing some of the remnants of that. Maybe we're seeing something still present. Maybe we're seeing something in way of residual activity. All of it can be found right there in the Bridgewater Triangle here in Massachusetts. So that's what we'll be working on.
Fantastic.
Michael,
so there's a lot of overlapping, right?
Yeah. Okay. Listen, Jeremy, after the show ends here, I'll throw you my email. Just shoot me an email real quick and we'll talk, brother. I'd love to have you aboard.
Definitely.
Oh, actually, I was going to mention, I was going to tell you the same thing, Michael. If you ever have a project in the future, I don't care when, you're filming something and you might have a need for me, I will fly wherever you are.
Yeah.
Gladly.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
We all need to help each other out.
Awesome.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about here. And of course,
Working
no matter
together.
how big you get, it's always about collaboration. It's always about helping each other out. And there's no limit here. Really, the sky is just that. So I'd love to definitely talk to you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to have each and every one of y'all on my show, by the way.
Yeah,
Let me know, man.
Speaking of
Absolutely,
collaboration,
very awesome.
Bobby has a podcast, and I dropped a link for that in the description. You should definitely check it out. I think Ralph and I are going to be on his podcast here. I don't know when, but probably soon.
This first of the year is going to be turmoil, but I want everybody on here like on my podcast all the time. I'm like, Give me more. all of it now.
We are all about cross promotion. So yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
But I think we've run the gamut on this. So I think we're going to get out of here for the night. But Jeremy and Bobby, I want to say thank you for being on Black Lotus. It's been magnificent talking to you. Ralph and I talked to Jeremy once before on our podcast, Paranormal News Network. And you can also hit the link in the description for that too. But speaking of hitting things, hit that like button, subscribe, click that bell, and then make sure that you're hitting the all on the drop-down menu. And the reason for this, this is just my theory, is that there's something going on with YouTube called shadow banning, and it's almost specifically happening with paranormal channels. And what that means is that when you hit subscribe, you won't necessarily get notifications for it. But my theory is that if you hit all after you subscribe, you will. So make sure you do that. Also, check out DarkHour Paranormal Live here on YouTube. And what else? We have a discussion group at Facebook, and that's listed below too. So definitely check that out.
And if people, I have a YouTube channel too. If you just go to YouTube, we type in biologist wild trees, and the symbol is a little stop sign. But I do paranormal shows as well.
Are you still doing that? I thought you stopped.
It has been a year since I did anything, but it may be new to you. It's new to you. And I have so many ideas for new videos. I just need more subscribers. But you're right, Damien. Very perceptive, Damien. Very perceptive.
Hey,
All
thanks
right,
for that
guys.
lead. Thanks for that lead, Damien, on the publicist, by the way. That was a game changer for me.
Oh, she's awesome. Michelle Freed. Yeah, she's awesome. I mean, and like I said, she takes care of everything for you. You know, I mean, it's really hard to track down guests, and so on your own. But with a person like her, you know.
Yeah, I hadn't done a show in like three to 6 weeks because of it. I'm like, this is just too much. So you said that, I was like, oh, it's on. We're back, baby.
Yeah, I mean, the well dries up, you know. I mean, so. But anyway, viewers, thanks a lot for watching, as always. And as always, keep thinking and question everything.